If I'm talking too fast for you, as I've gotten some feedback, then you can watch me on 0.5%. I listen to my podcast on 1.5, sometimes 2 times. No? Does everyone do that?
What do you do?
I listen to my podcast on 2 times speed.
Well, I wouldn't be able to hear you.
Well, don't listen to me on 2 times speed.
That's already saying.
No, my podcast.
Yeah, I do that for lectures in college. I listen to all them
2 times. Yeah, me, you can't. I'm going at the speed. You have me on, so I'm saying you could bring me back down to 0.5.
Yeah,
I wish they had that feature on YouTube. People would probably use it. Okay, commercial revolution. So now we have the beginning of commerce, joint stock companies, capitalism, banking. We don't even know what this is. Lending money to each other. It was key. So development of banking was important because it provided resources for investment, right? So that's why it's important to have banking. They lend you money now. You could use the money. One result of the European commercial was the development of capitalism. We'll talk more about what capitalism is. Okay, this is the best part by far. Absolute monarchs. I think this is so easy. So you have these guys' names. I don't know anything about them. Peter the Great, Louis XIV, Suleiman the Magnificent, Akbar the Great, Meiji, Elizabeth, Philip. You probably spent months on each of them in class, and it's good. You could use them for essays. I'm not criticizing your teachers at all, but for the purpose of the regents, they test them like they're all exactly the same. They want you to understand that 1, they grew the size of their empire, conquest. 2, they made their countries more modern. The ones that really made their countries more modern were Peter the Great and Meiji. Were very into that. Peter the Great was renowned. He went. I think he went and disguised as a peasant to the Western countries and learned about their style of life. So eventually, someone in Africa is going to say, we should all have iPhones too, and they're going to get into Westernization. So that's what this is. And then, most important, religious tolerance. This is now. It used to be that the monarch used religion as a way of ruling. Now it's not that anymore. It's the ruler himself, just the ruler. That's it. And conquest and growth. That's what. So there's going to be a zillion questions on this. Suleiman the Magnificent is best known for uniting the Ottoman under a government. Akbar the Great tried to also unify. They all tried to unify their things. Tried to create peace by religious tolerance. We said that. Not into one religion. Which form of government is associated with the reign? Absolute monarchy. These were still monarchs, but they were religiously tolerant. Peter the Great, Emperor Meiji, modernization. One way in Akbar the Great and Suleiman the Magnificent is that they controlled large empires. The actions of Japan during the Meiji is that they sent people to learn from Western nations, right? Modernization. Which characteristic is associated with the rule of both Akbar the Great and Suleiman the Magnificent? Religious tolerance. Akbar the Great and Elizabeth I, religious tolerance. One way in which Peter the Great in Russia and Emperor Meiji in Japan is similar is that they encourage modernization. I mean, this is the gold mine. If you just did the course for this, I think it was worth it. What happened in Russia as a result of actions taken by Peter the Great? Russian borrowed Western ideas. I mean, this is bizarre. Peter the Great and Catherine the Great, Westernization. Historians Louis XIV, this is just a monument to personal rule, a little bit off topic. Emperor Meiji and Kemal Atatürk, modernization. It's bizarre. These questions are comical. Modernized, centralized, religious tolerance. 3 points. Agree. Scientific revolution. So we were just talking about the Renaissance, and now we get to the scientific revolution where science usurps religion as the primary source of understanding about the world. Galileo, again, proved Copernicus. The sun is really the center, not humans. He was put on trial because he contradicted. You have Descartes, Isaac Newton. These are all people to use the scientific method. Ask questions, look for answers. That's science. Spread a new ideas, challenged, and led directly to the Enlightenment. So this is key. You have to write an essay about the Enlightenment. You use what led to it, scientific revolution. Then we'll talk about the Enlightenment. And then that led to the revolutions. It's just a big chain. You pick one spot on the chain, talk about before it, talk about after it. It's a big story. It's fun. People don't like history. I listen to history podcasts for fun. I do. You guys actually, I'm going to recommend the podcast on the air.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to. You guys should listen to this thing. It's really unbelievable.
Everyone listens to history for fun.
No, this guy. Oh, so you're gonna love this guy. You know Common Sense, Dan Carlin?
No.
This guy, Common Sense.
Arguments later in a cleaner system.
He talks loud.
This was always a long shot, as we all understood.
Yeah, I know why you want to.
And he has one called Hardcore History. It's a 5-hour show where he researches and puts quotes, and he really takes you like you're there. It's unbelievable. What a guy. Love him. He takes years to put out a podcast. He treats it like
Like a work of his.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable guy. So anyhow, recommended. Which scientist is most likely with formulating views of the solar system? Copernicus. One way in which Copernicus, Galileo, observation and experimentation. Age of Enlightenment, age of reason. People start to use logic instead of, these ideas of God. They said there's these universal rules. The scientific revolution, Enlightenment, spread new ideas and use of reason. Key people, John Locke, he said people have natural rights, the rights to life, liberty, property. We have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. You could see we were influenced by him. He also said people have a right to overthrow the government. If the government doesn't protect your rights, you have a natural right to, you empower the government. The government doesn't control you. You put them in charge. If you hate them, then take them down. And we're going to see a lot of people do just that. Montesquieu, to be separation of power, 3 branches, executive, legislative, judicial. Again, America, we use the system. Voltaire, freedom of speech. Rousseau, social contract. We gave them the power. We could take away the power. These is enlightened despots who we just talked about. They believed in Enlightenment ideals. So this, I guess, is a little out of order. Those guys that we talked about, all those characters, Elizabeth, this and that guy, they believed in some of those ideas. They used reason, 2, faith in human reason. John Locke's 2 treatises, government comes from consent to the people. 1, why is Enlightenment considered a turning point in world history? I love the Enlightenment for essays. Why is world Enlightenment turning point? Change thinking about the role of government. Which writer opposed political absolutism? John Locke. One way scientific revolution and Enlightenment is similar is that it questioned traditional values and past practices. Good. Supported reforms. Believed in natural rights and religious toleration. Enlightened despots. These are the guys that were, Why did Catherine the Great, Enlightenments? She considered law code, all people are equal. So that's important. Okay, and now, after everyone just said that you could revolt, so naturally we're going to get into the period of political revolution. By the way, when you guys teaching, obviously you're giving them time to do these questions. You're not doing what I'm doing. I'm doing the stage after you, and if you're watching this, you should have done the questions. I don't know who would be watching this that didn't do the questions, though, but you should be, yeah. English, a glorious revolution. You could be pausing the video. Oh, God. He's going to send more text after that. English, a glorious revolution. English government limited the power of the monarchy. They split it off and they gave the parliament some of the power. And there's a bunch of laws, the Magna Carta, the Petition of Rights, the English Bill of Rights, the habeas corpus. I don't know what any of these are. I don't know why we didn't spend a lot of time talking about this, but these were limiting laws on the king's power. So it kind of split the king off. And nowadays, they say, oh, the king's just a puppet to the parliament. I guess the parliament now got really all the power. Maybe it shifted too much to the other side. We also have something like that. We have the president. He's not all powerful. It's an executive branch based on the same ideas. Limited the monarchy and the absolutism, the parliament. Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, parliamentary democracy, choice 4. The primary purpose of the Magna Carta was to limit the power of King John, I think the answer is. Oh no, Glorious Revolution. Justify the Glorious Revolution is maybe right. I don't know, one of those. Which heading best completes the partial outline of the British below? Glorious Revolution, Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, parliamentary democracy. I don't know, who's King John? Maybe just say Glorious Revolution when you teach it, but I don't really know what the real answer is. You gotta just be confident on those. They don't usually get you. French Revolution. France overthrew their kings and fought for more rights. Yeah, so everyone knows about this. The third estate doesn't have a lot of money. See, I told you more.
Yeah, it's one. It's in the power of King John.
It is?
Yeah, Glorious Revolution was when they killed the guy without blood, when they killed the king without blood, and then the girl came from Orange, the queen.
Oh, yeah, William.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys know more than me.
I learned this today in college.
Okay, good. So you could tell them about that. French Revolution. French Revolution. People overthrow King John. Is there a way to, sleep a conversation? How do you put this guy on silence? I don't know.
Do not disturb, something like that.
Yeah, there you go. We're in action, baby. All right. Sorry for that brief intermission. Okay, so they were ruled by absolute monarchs who abused the power to deny the rights of the people. It's not fair. So then they made the Declaration of the Rights of Man, where that's like their Declaration of Independence. We have right, we're not going to stand for this. They met on the tennis court oath, you might want to say. They stormed the Bastille. They broke down the castle. If you want to have an essay, you throw some of these words in. And this is going to be a very important theme, is that revolutions could be good. American Revolution, we have a positive, but revolution could also be stupid. Or not stupid, it could just be a failure. We could revolt, and then everyone could just be violent to each other, and that's what happened here. You had the Reign of Terror. The people that took over charge were just as reckless as the people that were initially in charge. So it got crazy. They were killing people, executing them at the guillotine. If you saw the newest Batman, that was based on the Reign of Terror, right? The third one, Dylan, you saw that one?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that was very
Is it
French
really?
Revolution. Of course, when they brought him to the trial, they put him on the ice.
Yeah.
That's Reign of Terror. They put him at the guillotine.
Why not watch it?
Yeah, you don't have to watch it. Jacobian's radical. Yeah, this guy Robespierre. I find his story so heartening. The guy was not heartening, disheartening. They called him uncorruptible, the White Knight. That's also based on Batman, and he became radical. So they ended up executing him. They killed the king, and then he was the new king. They ended up killing him. And sometimes people aren't ready for freedom, and that's clear what happened there. Okay, so let's look at some of the questions. Based on Third Estate, they wanted not independence, more influence on the political system. No taxation without representation. One way in which the traditional India and pre-revolutionary, there was very limited mobility. It couldn't change it. Liberty, equality, peace, land. Those are ideals, political and economic ideals, right? Those were like their buzzwords. We have that: life, pursuit of happiness. Those are ideals. That's what we believe in. We believe in, what do we believe in? You have these: peace, land, bread. Napoleon, so they weren't ready for democracy. Napoleon takes over. Everyone owes him. This is a big string of easy essay stuff, I think. He spread the Napoleonic Code. He was like an enlightened despot. The code still emphasized equality, religious tolerance, education. But he was a ruler. But you could have a good king. It's not only that the king will be bad. You could have a good monarch, and this seems to be a case like that. He was expanding. He went into Russia. He went into Russia in the winter. They scorched earth. They drew him in. They kept running back, retreating and burning. All of a sudden, they're trapped in there without winter jackets in Russia. And it didn't go well. So Robespierre and King Louis both were killed. Removed from power, at least. One was Justinian and Napoleon. Gave people a set of rules. I think we had that in the curriculum. Russians defeated no severe winters. So, okay. Latin America. So I don't know about this either, but in Latin America, eventually they revolted from Spain. Okay, it made sense, and now they're independent. And you see all these names that look Latin American. So if you ever see one of them, Simon Bolivar, Le Overture, Hidalgo, these guys. And again, after they overthrew, they needed to unify. Those are the steps. Overthrow, and then what's your plan? Okay, you got rid of them. You think ruling's so easy, you rule. And they struggled, because Latin America has a lot of natural boundaries. And we talked about in Greece, natural boundaries being a struggle for unification, also here. So now, that's why you ever think about it. You go to South America, it's like, oh, is this place safe? Is this place safe? Why are they all different? In the U.S., you go to the U.S., it's safe. Because there, it's all different. They're not even ruled by the same people. Overture are leaders of leading independence movements. Overture and Bolivar, independence movements. Fought for unity from European control. That's number 3. Simon Bolivar was the Andes Mountain, we just said. The Andes Mountain and the Amazon River, Amazon Basin affected the unity. They couldn't unify. We'll also talk about Africa trying to unify, Pan-Africanism, and that also failed because of tribal things than geography, but we'll get to that. Industrial Revolution. Okay, so now we're in more so Industrial Revolution is the idea of supply, making things in mass. If you own a piece of jewelry nowadays, you don't own the only one. If you ever think about pre-Industrial Revolution, what it was like, if you wanted a chair, you'd have to hire some guru that knew how to make a chair, which is bizarre, and with a comfy cushion, no less, that folds up. Nowadays, you buy them for $10.99 because they've really become so efficient, and this is the beginning of that. You got to pour natural, like, where do you get the metal to make this thing? The plastic, they're getting it from one place, selling it to another place, putting it to the factories, making an assembly line. People are moving to the factories, working class grows. That's a big industrial revolution. Urbanization, people move to the cities. That's where the jobs are. Very bad working conditions. Child labor, all hands on deck. Labor unions. If one big factory just says, you know what, I'll fire you, they united. You have this in the NBA. The players have a union. Otherwise, we would just pay. They would make they have a salary cap. They would make it lower the cap. The owners would keep a higher percentage. Now they keep 50%. For more details on salary cap, please contact me, and I would be happy to discuss that with you as well. But you got to make this stuff interesting to yourself, otherwise you won't enjoy it. Legislation. Government eventually passed laws to... Okay, great. Which was changed during the Industrial Revolution. Growth of the working class. One way in which Industrial Revolution is Great Britain. Human migrations. I don't know, the potato blight. Dylan, what's that?
They ran out of potatoes, They
ran out of potatoes and they all had to move away.
Yeah.
So migrations. Which geographic feature aided England, they had those natural harbors, so they got the resources. That's why the Industrial Revolution began in England. Economic systems. Okay, so now we're getting really modern. We have, ideas about, is it right that some people are so rich and others aren't? Is there a way that it would be better to run our economic systems? So you have this idea of capitalism. That's what we kind of live in. Free market-ish. We live in free market. People, profit motive should encourage people. Why do we do this tutoring service with such a good service to all of you? In part because we love you and it was a lot of fun and we love doing it, but also, we have a little bit of a profit motive. But the profit motive is good. It makes me make more programs, reach more people, spread better messages, make sure that our stuff is appealing. So there's an idea that a profit motive could be good. It could motivate a society to get more efficient. Why do we have such good stuff from Amazon? They're bringing me the stuff now. They're motivated by profit, but they do me a great service. So this is an understandable system. On the other hand, capitalism can lead to some being so rich while others aren't. You have monopolies. Could be a feature of a capitalistic system when people get so powerful, and then government would step in. Capitalism says no government. Laissez-faire. I think it means like everyone just do your thing. Every man for himself. So that's that. Marx and Engels believes in a more utopian idea where everyone works their hardest. He says workers of the world unite, right? They're going to come up, overthrow the government, and they're going to put in place a system where everyone's equal and everyone works and everyone shares the resources. It's a very nice idea, but I wouldn't work that hard. Probably, if not for the fact that I needed money. So that would be the counter argument to that system. We believe what we believe. But you could imagine that in a utopian society, utopian means the ideal, maybe it would be a closer system to that. Maybe not. Laissez-faire suggests the government should let natural laws, don't do anything, laissez-faire. 1800s Marx and Engels were directed at the industrial workers. You should unite. In the capitalistic system, the factories became stronger and they kept you enslaved. Unite and overthrow. Marxism is workers of the world unite. Karl Marx, Lenin, we'll get to Lenin. Castro, they all believed in this... I guess the answer is revolution, right? They're all revolutionaries. Is that the answer? Yeah. So we'll talk about those guys. But this was it was a economic revolution, right? Unite and overthrow. The views of Marx, workers of the world unite. Okay, which laissez-faire, natural, healthcare, no. 3, profit incentive. Profit should be your incentive. Imperialism. All right, so we talk a lot about imperialism. Imperialism is the idea that one country will go conquer colonies, use their natural resources. Now, why do we do it? Because now we have the factories and we got to feed the machines. We need metal. You just go steal it from them. There's no need to. It's not steal it. I guess we need to own metal. We can't keep. We don't want to keep trading for it, so we'll just go take it from them. Or maybe they don't want to trade with us. I don't know what the reason is. But anyhow, and they needed raw materials, number one, and then these aren't causes. They would justify imperialism by saying, it's our obligation. It's not, the Africans probably didn't have guns or something, so if you went in with a gun, you could just take their stuff. So, they call it social Darwinism, survival of the fittest. It's our obligation to root out the weak. Should we allow people, we have this as America, should we allow other societies to be so far behind? Clearly they're not advancing the way we should. Maybe we should take over their land. That was what they did. Okay, you could understand it. You could also understand why it's not so nice. The scramble for Africa. So over 90% of Africa was taken. They had a Berlin conference. They met and discussed, okay, let's be reasonable. You could have the left chunk, and I don't even think Africa was invited, obviously not, to the conference, where they divided up Africa. They had the Opium Wars. British started smuggling opium into China. This is great. I think they hooked them on heroin. Opium is heroin. Painkillers. If you get surgery, that's synthetic heroin. It's an opiate, they call it. Do not use it in excessive amounts. After being defeated, China was carved up in the sphere of influence, similar to the thing. So they defeat China, even Japan got into action, so it's grabbing pieces of China. They divided up. Sepoy Mutiny. India tried to get independence from Britain. Okay. Boxer Rebellion. China tried to get independence from the Western nations. So you have this conquest and attempts for revolution unsuccessful at this point in time. The natives are unintelligent. We can't understand their language. That's called ethnocentrism. Why are they unintelligent? Because we don't know their language. That's obviously stupid, so you should see that. 1500s, Europeans attempt to establish colonies. It's like what we think of animals. The animals are stupid. We don't understand their language. Maybe they're really talking. I watched an epic epic documentary about ants. There's some this is the craziest. So in ant colonies, usually the queen is the head honcho and is in charge. They had this ant colony where there's no queen ant. So how do they reproduce? It's like on the wreckage of a ship, and all ants like on their way to their other colony fall in. So the whole colony is made up of like immigrants. Basically, it's an immigrant colony. There's no head ant. And I always pictured, imagine the ants land there and they like start bowing. They're like, "Where's the queen?" They're like, "Julie, this colony's not like that, man. We chill here." It's really incredible. But they really have social structures. And then there's one that like they kill the non-purebloods. If they find any immigrants in their colony, they murder them. They don't intermarry out of the colony, and it's like a massive colony. So that would be the rivalry between the Democrat. A man from that colony falls into the wreckage colony and is shocked by the new democratic ideals. You gotta think in this world. There's a lot of sick videos about ants on YouTube. The footage they get and they give you for free. This world is really incredible. In the 1500s, the Europeans' attempt to establish colonies in Africa were hindered by the I guess it's geographic obstacles. They were not unified in their resistance. The issue with Africa is if they all united, they could fight back, but they all had their individual little tribes. They were against each other. So I think they gave guns to some of them and told them to take over the other tribes. There's a point where they end up doing that. What's a major reason European nations competed for control during Africa? They needed natural resources. Remember we talked about how they had gold? Yeah, I like to think about this. Sometimes you wish you had everything in this world given to you, like gold in your backyard. But you see, why is Africa, maybe this is not politically correct to say, why are they so far behind technologically? Because they were blessed with natural resources. The blessing that they had ended up being a curse that didn't force them to innovate. So more life lessons. Which description of trade best represents the relation between Africa and Europe during the late 19th century? What's the answer? Raw materials, yes, good. Spheres of influence is all imperialism. 19th century social Darwinism is imperialism, okay. It comes up a good amount. That's one or two questions, and also comes up in essays. And then you have this imperialism. The people are trying to stop the train. It's showing that technology, stop, sir, they're going to run them down. One major reason in Europe engaged in imperialism in the 19th century was the natural resources, right? Is a way to say that? Obtain markets, yes. They're cutting up China, is that in? The Boxers, yeah. So the Boxer Rebellion failed. So it's China that they're dividing. Oh, Berlin Conference, I'm sorry. Africa. Oh, then the cartoon one is the spheres of influence in China. Okay, loopy there. Japan. So that little guy, Japan, remember when we saw him, they become an imperialist nation. Why? They lack natural resources. That's the reason why anyone becomes an imperialist nation. We don't have natural resources. We want natural resources. Boom, we conquer. They began to conquer Chinese ports. And you have the Russo-Japanese War. It's between Russia and Japan over Korea. They both are just like, again, the spheres of influence. Japan, and they always show that Russia, massive. Japan, the little bumblebee. And even now, Japan's an advanced culture. Fascinating. I'd like to go to Japan, maybe. I'm not reading that long paragraph right now, but the answer is probably imperialism. Yeah, it's what should Japan do? The first door is immigration. They won't let us immigrate. The second door is tariffs. I don't know. What should we do? We have nothing left to do but to imperialize. Sino-Japanese War, Russo-Japanese War, annexation of Korea. This is them becoming imperialist. So reflect its vulnerable, no, for emergence. Yeah, good. Based on the map, how did the growth of Japan affect? They took their land. Okay, good. Which geographic area most influenced the decision? Lack of natural resources. Nationalism, okay. People love their nationalism, the idea of love of country. So you go through all these time periods where people need something to unite around, and it seems like in the dark times, people like either religion or something, they'll cling to it in excess, and it's good, and then it blows up. So this is going to lead to World War I. So we have the unification of Italy and Germany. So if you ever looked at the area where Italy is and where Germany is, they're made up of a lot of distinct little states in Europe, ever since the fall, I guess, of the Ottoman Empire, maybe. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But you have all these broken up pieces of land, and they want to unify Italy, so Garibaldi does. There's actually a statue of Giuseppe Garibaldi in Washington Square Park. I don't really get why. He has a sword. Is he a hero? I thought in that liberal area to have such a masculine symbol of conquest would be antithetical to the vibe of the area. Just my personal opinion. And unification of Germany. You have Otto von Bismarck. He had the blood iron policy. We're going to unite by blood or by iron. We don't care. He went on these wars. Danish war. I think Prussia is Germany.
Yeah, Prussia's Germany.
Prussia allies with Austria to seize Denmark. Prussia attacks Austria. So first they ally and get Denmark, then they attack them back. So Germany's a treacherous character. You could see at this time. And then Prussia attacks France. They think everything should be part of Germany, so they're going wild. Now, maybe from their perspective, I don't know, they owned it. So now this will give you a little bit more of it. So you see, you have Germany, and then you have Austria-Hungary, so these are the characters that they're starting to clash with, and everyone wanted these little lands. You have all of these independent governments. So this is, they call this the powder keg. There's a lot of tension going on because some of them had alliances with Hungary. Some of them were considered pieces of Germany. This is an fascinating time period to get into. And it was recent, honestly. So if you'd like to study in more depth, you should. Known as the powder keg. Due to feelings of nationalism, they wanted their land. They thought they were independent. They resisted Austrian rule. They don't want Austria-Hungary to rule them. Nationalism in Ireland. Britain took over Ireland, and then there was the potato famine where they died, and then due to feelings of nationalism, they wanted independence from Britain. And in Southern Ireland, they gained independence. Northern Ireland remained part of Britain. I never knew any of that. You got the Balkans is boiling over. So the answer is tensions in pre-World War I Europe. The Balkan resistance to Austrian rule won. Von Bismarck, Austria-Prussia, Russia, and the unification of Germany. Mass Irish is due to the famine. That's the potato famine. So they migrated. Causes of World War I. They have an acronym, M.A.I.N, militarism. People start building up an army. They take up pride in their armies. Alliances. We have all these different alliances, and then you bother one guy, and now I jump to his defense. Everyone's entangled in this web of alliances, they call it. Imperialism, we're all competing to take over lands in these places. Nationalism, everyone's very proud. Austria-Hungary they want independence. They'll fight him. World War I started when Archduke Ferdinand, the heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, so he's Austria-Hungarian guy, was killed by a Slavic nationalist in the Balkans. They wanted independence from Austria-Hungary, and then someone jumped to the Slavs' defense. Who jumped to the Slavs' defense? Russia, and then who jumped to the Austria-Hungarian defense? Germany. And then, there you go. Dylan.
Yeah, history's my thing. I love it.
Holy cow.
Good. So I'm glad we have you for this. Great. Okay, good. Dylan, making Rochelle feel insecure.
Sorry, Rochelle.
Got to read a bit more, Rochelle. Maybe a little less time on that Snapchat or something.
Uh-huh.